The monsoon in Pakistan on steroids. Pakistan flooding is so devastating it can be seen from space, and a third of the country is now underwater. This is a displacement of also 30 million people. Twitter and social media are full of reports and videos on this. 50 million people displaced. I said 30, I'm sorry, I was wrong. It's 50 million people displaced from these devastating floods in Pakistan. 900,000 livestock deaths, 1 million houses washed away, 40 plus reservoirs breached, 220 plus bridges collapsed, 90% crop damage, $10 billion loss in economy. Is that all? 10 billion? I would venture it's more, but anyway, and a third of the country is now underwater. What's to become of these brothers and sisters of ours living in Pakistan? The flooding killed more than 1,000 people. It's hard to comprehend the scale of the disaster unfolding there. Rains associated with the monsoon season are nothing new for Pakistan. They're able to make a note of it on the calendar between the months of June and September, but the rainfall just kept coming and coming throughout this year. This is some of the worst flooding Pakistan has ever had. The rains were so bad that the water just has nowhere to go. Basically, Pakistan has turned into an ocean. The Pakistani people are facing a monsoon on steroids, the relentless impact of epochal levels of rain and flooding. This is what Antonio Guterres, chief of the UN, said in the video statement. He said this climate catastrophe has killed more than 1,000 people, with many more injured. And according to NASA, many regions have already received 5 to 6 times the amount of rainfall that's typical for the whole year. This is an astounding number when one considers that the data used to calculate the average spans a period of 30 years and includes the information from 2010, the year in which the country saw the worst monsoon floods in its entire recorded history, and the various types of catastrophe that they had. Okay, so over 50 million people displaced, 900,000 livestock deaths, 1 million houses washed away, 40 plus reservoirs breached, 220 bridges collapsed, 90% of the crops damaged, $10 billion lost into the economy, and a third of the country is now underwater. The floods in Pakistan are currently so bad that the ocean seems to be forming within the country, according to what the satellite images are showing us. The melting of mountain snow and glaciers has only made the problem worse. According to NASA, Pakistan has the largest concentration of glacier ice that can be found outside of the polar regions. Mountain rivers get clogged with runoff as a result of precipitation during the monsoon season and melting snow, which then causes landslides to occur. Now, during the same time that the Disaster Emergency Committee, DEC, of the United Kingdom issued an appeal to collect funding for the 33 million people impacted by the disaster, well, there's 50 million now. The European Space Agency published striking photos based on obtained data by its Copernicus satellite. At the end of September, according to forecasts from the Pakistan Meteorologist Department, the monsoon season should begin to wind down. So basically, they have a whole month yet of this monsoon continuing. From outer space, the satellites are able to capture evidence of the deluge. The magnitude of the damage caused by this year's monsoon floods can be seen in images released by both Maxar and NASA. And these fresh satellite photographs seem to reveal that a third of the country is now inundated with water. Aid workers urged for immediate contributions to combat the absolutely devastating effects of the floods. During the same time that the Disaster Emergency Committee, DEC, of the United Kingdom issued an appeal to collect funding for the 33 million people impacted by the disaster, the European Space Agency published striking photos based on data obtained by Copernicus satellite. And according to a report by NPR, the flooding in Pakistan has impacted more than 33 million people and caused more than 1,100 victims of it since the middle of June, including hundreds of children. And the flooding was caused by extremely strong monsoon rains. The flooding have caused damage over 1 billion houses. Satellite photos were released 20th of August by NASA Earth Observatory, highlighted how the floods had altered the terrain throughout the nation between the beginning and end of the month of August. This is from the Mind Unleashed. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.